You're okay? Are you gonna get comfy? Okay. So guys, as you can see, I have been keeping a huge, or actually very little secret behind the scenes. Now, there is so much to tell you all. I am going to tell you a partial bit of our plans in today's video, and this video actually wasn't going to come until about 3 days before the end of this series, because I was going to do all these simple living videos, then show you the surprise, and then do a new home tour and a home reorganisation, because boy, have things had to change because of this little one. In the great scheme of things, I don't personally think it's that many changes, but actually maybe it is. What I would like to say is how we have ended up with this little puppy and formally introduce you all to her, because it has had big repercussions. So it's story time, guys, and as you can see, I am in now what I consider to be my pyjamas. We have just got up. She has this little routine every morning where she gets us up to go to the toilet, but then she gets all sleepy and wants to go back to sleep. But that's what I like to call my calm period of the day, because let's just say for the past now 2.5 weeks that I've been keeping her secret from you all, we haven't had much calm. And it's part of the reason that I have been so tired. It's also part of the reason now that I am relieved I decided to format these videos as mainly just sit down videos, because boy guys, have I had fun behind the scenes, stopping and starting the camera whilst she runs around, tries to grab things, goes to the toilet. It has been pure chaos behind the scenes, and is definitely what has contributed to me being very, very tired. But first of all, let me tell you the nice and the not so nice parts about why we have rescued her before I introduce her. About 2 weeks ago, I think it's just a little bit over now, 2.5 weeks ago, my mum was out in our local town. I've discussed before how, because it's quite a small town, in general, people that live in the town sort of walk every other day to get the groceries. My mum's no different. She walked to go get her groceries. It was the day when I actually think I shared with you all, we had a huge snowstorm, because it was the end of November, or middle to end of November, and we had this really huge snowstorm. That part is important because my mum was in the local grocery store, and when she came out, she saw this little puppy wandering. Now, if you guys think she's small now, think about how small she was about 2.5 weeks ago. She was tiny. She definitely probably shouldn't have even been outside. My mum thought, whose is this puppy? So she went and instantly grabbed her, held her to try and keep her warm, and proceeded to wander around in the town. But my mum said because of the weather, the town was practically desolate, barely anybody around. And she saw this group of men who looked, shall we just say, under the influence, sort of fighting in the street a bit further up. So she just presumed that it actually must have been their puppy. And just before she went to get the puppy seemed to have been trying to follow them and stay near them, which definitely prompted the idea that she belonged to them. So once my mum had the puppy in her arms, she was going up saying, you know, whose is this puppy? Is this puppy yours? Nobody answered, nobody came back. My mum proceeded to just sort of wait around like an hour to see if anybody, you know, see if it wasn't their puppy and see if anybody came back to reclaim her. But at this point, the poor little girl puppy was just shaking, shivering, terrified. And my mum just thought, I've waited an hour for somebody to come looking for a reclaimer. What needs to happen now is I need to take her home, otherwise she's going to die of pneumonia. You know, she shouldn't even be outside. My mum took her home, where she kept her for about 3 days, and we checked before, you know, decluttered the Facebook. This was before that whole event took place. We checked all the local sites, lost puppy sites on Facebook, or stolen puppy, because for all we know, somebody could have stolen it from somewhere and then just have been out with it. We looked at every possibility. It's been 2.5 weeks. Nobody has come forward. Nobody's reported a missing puppy. So we did, quite soon after that, as soon as we felt she had settled a bit, we did take her to the vets to have her scanned for microchips as well, because all puppies in the UK are supposed to be microchipped at 8 weeks. She wasn't, which kind of let us know that she'd been bred illegally or by a family that just had let their dog have puppies and intended to keep them maybe, or just give them to friends. But even then, in the UK, they're supposed to be microchipped. Anyway, back to the other part of the story. My mum said, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to look for a foster for her, but she's a bit too much for me because boy, is she lively. She's lively. This is her quiet point of the day. So I said, well, I'll look after her until we find a foster. So in all honesty, for the past 2 weeks, I have been behind the scenes, emotionally and physically tormented, because on one hand, I am falling in love with her. I want to keep her. She's so lovely. On the other hand, we had these plans to travel. We'd actually booked the ferries to go to France on the first leg of our journey. We'd initially booked the Airbnbs as well. And I said to my mum, what are we going to do if we haven't found a foster before Christmas and we've got these things booked? And she said, shall we postpone it? So we basically waited a good week, first of all, to see if anybody came forward. And when nobody did, we just decided to postpone the first leg of our travelling expedition, which I'll get to in a minute, because we also thought, so if the original owners, I don't like to say that, guardians, haven't come forward and we have to advertise her a foster, with it being so close to Christmas, we were really worried that it might attract the wrong type of person to foster her. So we definitely decided that we didn't want to put her up for rehoming until after Christmas. So we consider ourselves for quite some time to be a long-term foster. I am still contemplating whether I am fostering her or keeping her. Apparently in the psychology of puppies, because this happens a lot with sort of guide dogs, even up to 1 year old, but particularly a couple of months, you could just foster a pet and they would be rehomed perfectly fine without any sort of real pining for their owners. So long story short, it looks like we might be keeping her. There's this part of me that is quite scared, I'm not gonna lie, because I had all these plans to travel. But also when my partner met her, he fell in love with her too. And we feel like we love her that much that we actually just decided, how can we travel and still have her? And I have spent 2.5 weeks forging plans. It looks like we might be doing van life instead. And I can only say that actually van life sounds like a really good idea, because I did actually begin to wonder how, even being on a frugal budget, how long my partner and I could physically travel for without using up all our funds. I also wondered how we would truly investigate places that we might want to live or buy a cabin if we didn't have some kind of vehicle. I mean, I know we could hire a vehicle wherever we went, but actually van life began to look like the simpler, easier and more practical and frugal option. So that is what looks like is happening. And I've got all ideas about what I want to do for the van life, the van itself, the route, and I am going to do 2 follow-up videos about that. I definitely needed to tell you all this story about the puppy. So since we got the puppy, I think it's actually nearly 3 weeks, it's sort of 2 weeks and 5 days. She is so scared. She's clearly been mistreated in her previous home. We have taken her to vets and had her vaccinations. She is so scared when she goes out because of what happened to her, and obviously we live in a flat, so we have to take her to a remote piece of grass so that she can go outside but not be in contact with any other dogs, for disease and things, and to protect her. And each day a little bit of confidence is growing inside her, and we felt like we needed to do that so that she isn't kind of having trauma, like post-traumatic stress about what happened to her, probably on one of her first outings. And when we actually go to pick her up, it's like she was dropped, because she actually trembles when you pick her up, worrying what is going to happen to her, like worrying that she's going to be dropped again. So I've spent 2.5 weeks getting her used to being picked up, getting her used to going to this tiny little piece of remote grass, so that she learns that going outside isn't scary. Because for puppies, between the 8-week and 12-week period, it's really what shapes their psychology. So it's a really important part of their evolution, because it really shapes how they will be later. So I didn't want that traumatic event where the guy had already brought her outside, and we later found out by the vet that they actually thought she was a bit younger, that she was, when we found her, about 7 weeks old. So she shouldn't have even left her mum. In the UK, they're not supposed to leave their mother dog until 8 weeks old minimum. Sometimes people do wait a bit longer, so the puppies have more chance to learn socialisation with the other puppies in the litter and get stronger. But the minimum is 8 weeks, and we found her at 7 weeks. And who knows how long the guy had had her before that. Anyway, nobody's come looking for her. We've done what we've done to give her the best life possible and get her used to going outside in safety, in a safe environment, so that doesn't give her trauma for life, really. Because what we don't want to have is this little puppy that's terrified of going outside by the time she is, according to puppy guides, supposed to. We've done everything we can to protect her the best we can. So, what is her name? Well, rather appropriately, she has been following me around non-stop. I can't do anything. I've not got 1 minute to myself. She's following me around all day, but it's really, really sweet. Now, because she is a girl, and I personally thought that the name Shadow was a bit of a masculine name, if a name can have a gender, I thought, what about something that sounds more female but means the same thing? So I decided to call her Zala, which is Hebrew for shadow. It also, even in Latin, for those of you who know that I'm interested in etymology and the evolution of language, in Latin it also means little beauty, and it even has the ambiguous meaning of Rose, which was my grandma's middle name. And I discussed in yesterday's video about the English rose, and the emblem of Yorkshire is also a rose. I like that it's got all these meanings. She's definitely my little shadow, she's definitely a beauty, and she's definitely a little English rose. Now, the vet believes that she is a Patterdale, obviously because we rescued her. We have no papers for her. We don't entirely know. Even the vet was having an educated guess, but we believe that she is going to grow up to be a Patterdale. They're quite small dogs. They're under 10 kilograms, which means she could come traveling with us. But for the most part, we're thinking van life. She realized I went quiet for a second, so she's looking. I think she's just starting to get used to the fact that I speak to the camera a lot, although sometimes she's quite interested in it. But yeah, she is supposedly a Patterdale, and a Patterdale is actually from the north of England, not too far from us, the Lake District region, so quite fitting. And what's quite nice for us is I like the idea that she's a little dog, because that makes travel easier. It's also fairer in quite a small home and definitely in a van. But my partner likes the fact that of all the small dog breeds that there are, a Patterdale is actually very energetic and very lively and can go on long walks with him. It's recommended that they have about 2 hours exercise a day. Not like a Chihuahua only wanting 10 minutes a day, or a Pomeranian. They want a lot of exercise. So she can come on all our walks with us. I can see that in the new year, I might even end up going on longer hikes than normal and even running longer than normal to really make sure that she's getting the level of exercise that she needs. So it might be a bit tiring to begin with as I level up a notch in my fitness to keep up with her, but I think it's definitely got lots of added health benefits. Anyway guys, not to end on a somber note, but what I do want to say, because there's so much more to say about the whole van life thing in a video later in this series. But I wanted to do this video today because I've actually spent the morning on not as happy a note. I woke up to see the news about what has happened in Bondi, and ironically, I decided to call Zala, a Hebrew name, 2 weeks ago, long before this happened, to show that there is not only hatred in the world, that some of us don't care about creed, colour, religion, and we do only carry light inside us. So this is my way of, I think, I couldn't do another video. I couldn't do another video today with feeling how I felt. I couldn't just do a video about how to pack light when something so sad had happened. But that's two people's hatred in a world full of people that I'd like to believe are not full of evil or hatred. There is lots of light in people around the world. I decided to call Zala before this happened today to just show that there are many people in the world that are definitely not anti-Semitic. And in England at the moment, because of what's been going on, it's like we're not even allowed to say we are in support of any religion or anyone. And let's just say, by saying that we are in support or not in hatred towards one religion, it doesn't necessarily mean that we therefore hate another religion. I think it's possible to be accepting of all religions, all colours, all creeds, not judge one person based on what another person has done. But I definitely wanted to acknowledge that today. I don't think it couldn't be not acknowledged on a day where probably much of the world might feel quite sad about the events at Bondi Beach. I wanted to acknowledge that, but also show that there is light in the world. So let's not try and end on too much of a sad note. She is my little bundle of joy. We're going to go on a whole adventure together on this channel. Now, hopefully for the rest of this series, it won't be too difficult for me trying to hide her from you all, because I have had to have the table up high. I've had to try and keep pushing her to one side while I said a few sentences and then stop and redo another few sentences. So now she can be coming and going out of the frame, because you all know that she's here. A lot has had to change because she has come, which I will share and show you all in some future videos. For instance, it is the reason that we got a sofa. The chairs weren't working and we were going to keep one, but we've decided to get rid of two because they're white. They're white and she seems to get her claws stuck in the fabric. I liked them. They're currently stacked up in the hallway. I was going to keep one, but we just decided it's not going to work. So we're going to go for a very perhaps furniture-free option over there. We've had to get a second desk or dining table because she's a puppy, she's inquisitive, she's trying to get, you know, in the food, and we're trying to teach her manners when we're eating. In the bedroom, perhaps you all saw in yesterday's video, we've had to get bedside tables. Or was it yesterday's video or the day before? It's all merging into one to me. We've had to get bedside tables because she was in the underbed drawers. Despite them being sort of steel and having sides on, she was clambering inside them, and let's just say she left my partner Johnny a surprise in his sock drawer. So that's not going to work. We tried to train her not to go under there, but I think she feels safe under there, like it's her little den. So we've let her have that. We've moved all our stuff from under the bed into 2 bedside drawers, i.e. a bedside drawer each. All our stuff now fits in a bedside drawer each, and that's her little den under the bed, which is why we can no longer store things under the bed. To say that all this like bit of extra furniture has come in, you know, the 2 bedside drawers, the table, and then we've swapped the sofa for the chairs. It doesn't actually feel that busy, but it is a bit busier than normal. We have had to get a carpet cleaner a few days ago because although it only took a week to puppy train her to go to the toilet on a puppy pad in the hallway, she did have a few accidents before that, so the carpets definitely needed cleaning. We're hoping soon she will get used to going outside when she can regularly go outside. So yeah, we've got a few more things. We definitely think it's going to be a great next journey to go on. I hope you're all going to enjoy the journey of us perhaps getting a van. I have a lot of ideas to share with you all about that in an upcoming video. But what will probably happen tomorrow is we'll go back to the Simple Living series, not just like a news update, but then later in the series I will tell you all our van plans, as I have very specific van life plans that are very minimalistic, and I think van life is quite minimalist, to be honest. And today, even though it's been more of an update, I think in a way, although to begin with, it has definitely not simplified our life getting a puppy, I think in the long run, Zala might have done us a huge favour. She's probably made us save a lot of money by choosing to get a van to travel in rather than paying for hotels and Airbnbs. You know, our money would have only gone so far. So she's actually probably made us be more frugal because we do have pet insurance already in case anything happens. I don't think for such a small dog, her food and things are that expensive. At least they're not in the UK. They might be in other countries in the world, but in the UK in general, it isn't that bad, the price of keeping a pet, especially if you have insurance for things like vet bills. The video's getting quite long. They're all the updates. And remember guys, there is a lot of love in the world. See you all tomorrow. You're going to say see you all tomorrow. Bye.